Guys, how's it going? Today I'd like to talk to you guys about how to get out of Elo Hell. Now, this is going to be a very in-depth video about psychology and how you have to have the exact right mindset to be able to get out of Elo Hell, and how you have to be able to understand different aspects around you and not just ragging on other people for mistakes that you've made. So, if you're not ready to just get down to the nitty gritty and possibly look upon yourself, see your mistakes, and realize that you're not the best player in League of Legends, then this is not the right video for you. But if you want to improve your gameplay, if you want to become a better League of Legends player, if you want to reach Diamond, Challenger, whatever you want, if you want to be one of the top players in the world, these are some of the philosophies that you have to follow. So, right now, I'm just looking at these guys. These are just like the top players right now. Bobato, Turtle, blah 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 blah. A lot of these guys are like just the same people. So, how do these guys do this well? How are they able to win so many games that they're able to get into Challenger and not lose close to any games? Because as you can see here, look at this ratio. It's literally unbelievable. Literally unbelievable. Well, when it comes down to winning League of Legends, when you really think about it, your gameplay is all that you can change. Because each time you enter a ranked match, there's only one constant variable throughout every ranked match that you play: your self-performance. Nothing except your self-performance changes. So, basically, every time you enter a new game, you have a high chance of getting it. Well, depending on what elo you're at, you have a high chance of getting an AFK, you have a high chance of getting a feeder, you have a high chance of getting a toxic player, and sometimes you have a high chance of getting just good teammates. But the thing is that these will always just vary from game to game, because you can have one game where your team's amazing and your top laner goes 7-0 and they're playing Riven, so they just steamroll the game. You just win by like 10 minutes in. But on the other hand, you can have another game after that where your top lane goes 0-5 by like 10 minutes and you just straight up lose the game because of that. And you can apply that to the mid laner, the support, the jungler, all the roles, the AD carry. But depending on what role you play, personally I play AD carry, but depending on what role you play, the only constant factor in these games is your gameplay. That is the only constant factor. And that's why you might be saying, well, why do I get a lower, like, why do I lose points even though my team did horrible and I played decent? Well, the thing is that to win and rank through solo queue, you have to be able to just keep playing at your best, no matter the situation. Because each game, even though you might lose, is always an experience to improve. A lot of people who are at the very top rankings in Challenger and Diamond, the way that they play the game, instead of it being I want to just get to Diamond, it's more of I need to improve myself, and once I'm better, I can get to Diamond. Because the only way you're going to actually get to Diamond is if you become a better player. So it's not the steps of I'm going to get to like out of Elo Hell and then I can become a better player. Like, I'm in this position where everybody's bad, so it doesn't matter if I'm bad, and I'll just keep playing until I get out. What you need to have the mindset of is, I'm going to become a good player, and then I'm going to get out of Elo Hell. You have to remember the order and the steps of how things can happen in League of Legends. Now I'd like to go more in depth about how having the right mindset is extremely important. This might be the part of the video where people who don't want to go extremely in depth might want to click off. But here we go. So right now I'm going to be talking about cognitive dissonance. This is basically a study and a belief that this guy Leon had, and basically what it is look, I'll read it right here. Cognitive dissonance is the mental stress or discomfort experienced by an individual who holds two or more contradictory beliefs, ideas, or values at the same time, or is confronted by new information that conflicts with existing beliefs, ideas, or values. Now, that might sound very confusing, so I'm going to go more in depth and explain to you how this actually applies to League of Legends and what this even actually means. So, really, this cognitive dissonance is, imagine if this example here, let's say that in your mind, you're thinking, I'm going to go on a diet, and I will avoid high-fat food. So, you purposely are thinking in your head that your goal is to become more fit, so you want to eat less fattening food. And then cognitive dissonance activates once you go against that belief that you're holding, that you're not going to eat fatty foods, and you go and you eat like a donut or something. You eat like a fatty food. And it's this stress that gets put on your mind when you say, I'm going to do something, and then you just do the opposite. It's a lot like being hypocritical. But it goes more in depth because you can even apply this to League of Legends. A lot of the time, what happens is when you get into a league game, let's say maybe you're AD carry bot lane, you and your support accidentally got killed by the Blitzcrank Graves bot because you were like Kog'Maw and I don't know, like fucking Soraka or whatever. So Blitz gets an early pull, he pulls you in, Graves kills you. That happened. You're already super behind, and you've basically just already lost the bot lane. And your team starts getting mad at you. So basically, you have to understand this idea of cognitive dissonance to be able to actually progress through the game. That's the only way that you can actually improve in the game, because you have to have the mindset that the only thing that's constant in this League of Legends game is my skill. That is the only constant factor in all of the ranked games that I ever play. So if we take that idea in mind and we fuse it with cognitive dissonance, basically instead of taking this cognitive dissonance where it's I'm going to go on a diet and then I just do the opposite of that, you can take the form of cognitive dissonance, which is, let me find exactly which one is, oh, okay, so it's this one. It's basically like that your mind purposely will validate or try to demean other things so that it can understand the value of other things. And by that means that maybe, let's say that you just lost a league game, and instead of going into the next game thinking, oh, well, I'm ready to go play this league game. I won my last one. I'm pumped. Let's do this. You go in with the mindset of, well, I just lost my last league game. This game's dumb. This game's stupid. I hate this game. And that's the idea that instead of just not even applying what happened last game, all you can take from that last game is your constant factor, which is your skill. And cognitive dissonance is this, it branches out to explain this idea that humans will basically purposely mentally attack things when they are contradictory to their beliefs and when they interject with their ideas and things like that. So in a real life situation, it could be like, let's say somebody who's a strong believer in God gets confronted by someone who says, hey, your God doesn't exist. And the person immediately goes on the defensive, and the same chemicals that activate when you're being threatened in a life-threatening situation actually activate in your brain, and you feel this aggression towards this person, even though really all that they're doing is just expressing an opinion. And they may have not even been meaning to hurt your feelings or just make you feel bad, but they have put you in this position where you want to defend your belief that God is real. And basically, cognitive dissonance is the aggression that you feel towards the person, the stress that you feel in your mind when someone comes and confronts you with a conflicting idea. So, in League of Legends terms, back to the example for the bot lane being you just died twice and your team starts yelling at you. Basically, cognitive dissonance activates when people start yelling at you and let's say you yell back at them. Because if you're yelling back at them and they seem worse than you are in your eyes, then their insults towards you will feel less hurtful. And that's why people insult each other. But it also applies when you're just looking at the game where maybe you died to Zed, who's just really fat, and he just one-shots you, even though you're like 4-0 in the bot lane. And you leave the game thinking, oh my god, this fucking game, League of Legends, is just so stupid. I hate this game. I never want to play it again. So, instead of understanding the facts of what happened in that game and analyzing what happened and how you need to improve, you instead fill your mind with these ideas that it's the game's fault and it's not your fault, it's just because it's a bad game, and all of these things that make it so that it's easier for your mind to accept these losses that you feel. So basically what your mind is doing is it's purposely I guess it's like peeling off a band-aid really slow instead of peeling it off really fast and just getting it out of the way. You're peeling it off really slow because like you don't want to hurt yourself. So in the moment you are making yourself feel better because you're giving yourself mental validation for the misplays, the misjudgments that you made in your game. And what you really need to do to become a high-level League of Legends player and Challenger and Diamond, they all have this same idea in their minds, even though they may not know it, is that you can't just let things slide like when you make a bad play. Because instead of ripping off the Band-Aid slowly and just being like, yeah, this game's bad, it's whatever, or yeah. What they do is they rip off the whole Band-Aid all at once, and they feel the full brunt of the pain. And They're just like, yeah, I made a bad play, I fucked up, and that's just how it is. Now, what I'm going to do, instead of just saying this game's bad, this player was bad, my support didn't support me, my jungler didn't give me ganks, they, instead of getting this validation that other people are worse than they are, they try and understand that even though, sure, maybe your jungler didn't gank, sure, maybe your support was horseshit and went like 0-3 in the bot lane, but really what you need to understand is that you just need to focus on your own individual skill, because that's the only constant factor in all of your ranked games. If you think about it in a mathematical format, there is no reason, logically, you would ever want to look at other players and judge what they're doing. Because there's so little chance that you will ever find them in a league game again that there's almost no reason at all to judge other players. So this can even apply to when you're going and you're insulting other players. There's no reason to even do that, because mathematically, what are you even doing? Like, all you're doing is not accepting mistakes that you made, and you're just for one, you might be just making like your teammates feel bad, which could inadvertently create a loss, and you're basically just putting a blanket over your mistakes and hiding them later because you don't want to confront that you were the bad guy in the situation. And even though like maybe your jungler comes up and he dies to the whatever, like he gets like counter ganked and he dies and it was his fault, there's no reason to go off on him, because all that you're doing is like just getting like angry for no reason. Because if you think about it in a mathematical format, like I was saying, there's really absolutely no reason to go off on other players, because all you're doing is getting validation for yourself that you think you're a better player than they are, which inadvertently makes you a worse player, and you're also having a lower chance of winning the game. And also, since you're most likely never going to see that player again, you're just wasting your time completely. So, to recap all that I said, first off, guys, you have to keep in mind that the only constant factor in all of your ranked games that you ever play in League of Legends is that you are in them. You are one of the 5 people on your team. Always, no matter what. That cannot be changed ever in League of Legends. Secondly, you have to remember cognitive dissonance in the fact that when you insult other people, when you insult your game, when you go off on something in League of Legends that is not yourself, you are inadvertently making yourself a worse player, because you're not accepting the mistakes that you made, and you are just acknowledging the mistakes that other people made, and you're not there to help them. You're there to improve your gameplay, not theirs. It doesn't matter what they do in League of Legends. And lastly, statistically, in League of Legends, 1, it's bad to insult other players. You have a way, way higher loss ratio when you just go off on other players. Secondly, just don't give a fuck about what the other players do. It doesn't matter. Mathematically, it does not matter what the other players do. The only thing that matters is your gameplay. So, thanks for watching, guys. Go hit the rift. Someday, you guys might be on this little list right here in the top 10. So, thanks for watching. And, yeah, go on some guys on the rift.